What's going on? This is Deke back with another So Rare video. Today we're going to talk about MLS under-23 keepers. So, in the off-season, I did talk about ones to watch, who I was interested in, all that good stuff. Let's do an update. We have a significant sample size. Things have happened in the under-23 world for keepers. Some good things, some bad things. It's been carnage, to be honest. It's been really tough. The MLS under-23 scene, the person behind me here, Roman Celentano, is the GOAT. If you got into anyone and you picked him as your under-23 from the MLS, you're in great shape. He has been unbelievable. If we take a look at his recent form, minus the last two, so he's kind of getting into, he's been pretty solid. I mean, clean sheet after clean sheet, which is what you're looking for. 61 plus, almost exclusively, and then he's had some bad as well. So if we look here back in February at the start, conceded one, 2 clean sheets in a row, 3-bagger here. So it's kind of been boom or bust. Whenever he's doing well, he's keeping those clean sheets. Whenever he's having a bad game, it's been pretty bad. Other than last time out against the Timbers, he did allow 1, but it's been 5 with the 6 points there, and then 3 the other time. So it's been pretty big in those cases. His price has, with every card going down pretty much, his price has stayed up and increased a little bit. I was in the market for him, and I went other choices. Hasal, rest in peace. And those of you who went Pulse Camp as well, he's the guy that you want to have. And other than him, there's only 2 guys. These are my nailed on guys, him and Chris Brady. So Chris Brady is 19 years old, just turned 19 in March. He's been very solid, but his price is a lot less just because he's not going to keep clean sheets much. Chicago's been better. They actually had a nice stretch of form with wins on the road against Inter Miami, who's been terrible, and at home, Minnesota United. He's been solid. Nothing to write home about, but if you're looking for a starter, a pretty nailed-on starter, I'm not really worried about Spencer Riche or Rishi, however you say it, as his backup. Not really worried there. The only thing is, if he plays in the Under-20 World Cup, he's going to be gone for a while, which makes it interesting. But he has come out and said that he has a job to do at the club. He's going to stay there as far as I know. I don't think he's going to leave that post. So I don't think he's going to go to the Under-20 World Cup, but that is a little bit of he's nailed on as far as that. But reason for maybe a little bit of worry. But at his price right now, I'll be honest with you, I am looking to buy him because right now I went to Asia for my keeper, Osako from Hiroshima. I just didn't like anyone else. My investment on Hasal hasn't worked, and the rest of my gallery went down, so haven't really had any extra funds. I did get a Palacios, and it's about, I think I might have enough for Brady right now, but I kind of just waiting it out to see where we go from here. So those are my 2 locked in. My next one is kind of out of nowhere, and it's Patrick Schulte. And interesting here, Eloy Room was out for injury. Schulte came in and did phenomenal. 3 straight. I mean, he had that 85.2, phenomenal. He's been really solid. Safe to say. He did concede 1 in the loss against Charlotte, but this is a very, very, it's tough. Eloy Room is the veteran. His contract runs out at the end of the year, but is he going to come back in? He is healthy. Last week he was healthy. Schulte still started, so that is something to take into consideration. In my MLS lineup predictions, I do have Schulte starting again this week, but it's getting closer and closer. I just don't know the situation enough. They're keeping it close to hand. But as far as him, he's been great. If he can somehow win the job and keep the job, look at his price right now. It is a little bit high for the risk, but it's not that bad for a rare under-23 keeper. It is buying time for sure. There's some great deals to be out there. I do think his price is just a little bit too expensive for the risk for me. But he's in his own tier. Could he keep the job? I mean, he could. He very well could. I was scared. I got a tier one reward, and he is in the tier 1 under 23, tier 2 under 23, and I was worried about bouncing down and then getting him, although that's a solid payout. It's not the worst thing in the world, but just as far as being a starter, not being a starter. Next up, this guy's came out of nowhere as well. George Marks. I didn't really think Cisniega was the starter due to Kalina being out for injury due to a decent amount of time. And George Marks took the job. He was solid. And you can see here 58, 56, 46. Then he did go out and have a clean sheet. So interesting because Kalina just played in the U.S. Open Cup midweek, so he is healthy. And it's going to be interesting to see how long Marks keeps the job. I think with that clean sheet and the U.S. Open Cup going to Kalina, getting his minutes back, I do think he's going to be a starter for at least this week, maybe a couple more weeks. But I'm wondering, is he going to be phased out as we move forward now that Kalina should be healthy and ready to go? Depending on, you do have DC United, who has been better on the road. New York City FC at home, they have been really solid with their attack at Atlanta. So could he lose that job? He very well could. Home Chicago is a good matchup. Nashville doesn't score a ton, but home matchup's pretty solid there, and then Galaxy. So be interesting to see how long he stays there. He's my fill-in starter, so if you're putting him in a tier, and he's joined by Jonathan Sirois for Montreal. So he's filled in up in Montreal. So Montreal, their keeper situation, he came out of nowhere, honestly, before the season, and he wasn't on my radar. 0.17. I thought Ketterer might have been, before the season, the backup. So he kind of came out of nowhere for me. Pantemis is out with a shoulder injury, but he just started training. So that is the situation with him. He should be back. I do think he's going to take the job whenever he's back. Montreal, look, they haven't been good, but take a look at their opening stretch. They had one home game over their first 6 matches. In the MLS, home is key. It is what it is. They started out away from home. He wasn't doing very well just due to that. And he did hold a clean sheet at home. DC United result at home was tough. But if you take a look here, excuse me, I got a little tickle in my throat. Sporting Kansas City, they've been pretty putrid. They scored some goals in the U.S. Open Cup midweek. Okay matchup, but they could get right here. Home against Orlando. Orlando's actually been better on the road than at home. Weird. Home against Toronto. Toronto's struggled. So they are going to get their home matches. Home against Miami. But I do think he's not going to hold on to the job. It's just my opinion. All right, and then these two, they just hurt. Tim Melia, club legend for Sporting Kansas City, took the reins again. Feel bad for Pulse Camp owners. He did play in the U.S. Open Cup, so that kind of confirms that Melia is the guy, which is a real bummer. Man, it's just tough. I thought he could start over Melia and they'd move on from him, but he is a club legend. I get it. This performance really did it in home against Seattle. They lost 4-1. But if you take a look, I know Melia, clean sheet. The 1-0 loss to Colorado, the goal was not very good. It was kind of a mistake on Melia's part. 3-0 loss, 2-1 loss. Sporting Kansas City has just been horrible. They've had injuries again. They just can't kind of get past these injuries. They have so many people out again. And it's just tough. Looking at his scores, he has some really nice scores. And it's terrible that those 2 matches are the reason why. But I do think he can come back and be a starter eventually. It's just he's young. And as far as goaltending, they're going to see Melia out and kind of leave on his terms. His price is a little bit too high for me, although he's going to be a starter eventually. He is, whether it's next year. So just based on where prices are going, again, holding off for sure. And the other guy who I am still the owner, look at that price. Man, Hasal. Where do I start? Even when he does play, he doesn't do well. So he did play CONCACAF Champions League, 13.7. I actually won a reward in that lineup. Crazy because no one was playing. That's where I got my Tillman. Boy, if you're gonna, I thought I made some good investments. With the platform being down significantly, all my investments were down. But this is by far my worst investment. I just thought they would stick with him. He's a Canadian boy. He's a solid keeper. They just don't like him. That's basically all it comes down to. They don't like him. They brought in Yohei, and he's a phenomenal goalie. Nothing to say. It's all true backup. He's got to go somewhere else to play, to be honest. And I don't know. It's very disappointing. I'm holding on to it just because if I sell now at that price, like, selling for a loss is whatever, but I'm just going to ride him out. And then my last keeper, we'll get to somebody that is young as well, 17-year-old Gavin Beavers. He started for Real Salt Lake in probably the most confusing lineup, I would say, that I've seen. Whenever I did my match predictions, I think that was my worst out of any of them. And Zach McMath is the starter. He's definitely the starter. I don't know why he played. And he played against Columbus, and it was a buzzsaw. They lost 4-0, and he made a mistake. It was just terrible. But as you can see here, he wasn't even on the bench the prior game, and he just started out of nowhere. It wasn't like an injury thing or anything. It was just, I don't know what they were doing there. Let's take a look at this lineup, just because it was a little bit outrageous. So we have here, Anelli started a little bit. Brody, that doesn't make, that's fine. Merriman's been traded. Ruiz was back. Chang, yeah. It was just interesting. They had a lot of backups, and then Paul up top. This is when people were healthy. Everyone was healthy. So, this is the lineup they put in. Lovelsen on the bench. Holy on the bench. Should have started probably. Gomez on the bench. I know this is a different video, but under 23. By the way, Gomez has been unbelievable in his last 3. Not the Dallas game, but goal and assist and 2 assists. He's on my radar for sure. His price is obviously up a little bit, but he's very interesting. See if they have an auction going. No, only offers. He does have a forward card. Is it midfield? Forward card, yes. Since he's been minted, he's interesting from that RSL team. They've turned it around a lot, so I know I got on a tangent there. But as far as Beavers, yeah, don't own him as far as his floor price. These floor prices, again, with the difference, the supply on the market is just non-existent, and I wouldn't look into that. But 0.08, I'd rather have Hasal than Beavers, even though 17, there's a lot of utility left. Could he be a starter? Sure, but Zach McMath is the guy there. So hopefully you guys like that update. Hopefully you guys didn't get burnt as much as I did as far as the investments in some of these MLS under 23 keepers. We are moving into summer, and all the Europe leagues stopping, most of the Europe leagues stopping, and it becomes our time as far as people that have invested early in the MLS and hoping to reap the rewards as far as all summer.